Let's start with the property sector. What sort of numbers are we seeing in terms of sales and prices?
The property sector is in deeper trouble this month than it was last month or at any point this year. Housing prices, according to developers, are in contraction. Sales are declining. The sector is really starting to struggle. If you were expecting a recovery this year, a mild one even, well, it's gone the opposite direction.
How much of a pickup do you expect during the Golden Week holidays in terms of demand, sentiment, and just people going out and spending?
Yeah, I think we've seen some winners from the Golden Week travel already with, travel agencies and the leisure sector actually seeing gains and doing quite well. I think, in the coming weeks, we'll find out if other purveyors of foodstuffs, et cetera, also get better results, which will be reflected next month. But I have to tell you right now, outside of areas like travel, consumers are not spending again. They're pulling back, if anything.
Yeah, Shehzad, I feel like a lot of the conversations we have at the moment revolve around just how important this Golden Week holiday is going to be in China. If expectations don't measure up, what are the implications going to be for markets?
Markets have already been so depressed about what has happened in China that any hope that perhaps now we start to see a better recovery picture will just absolutely fade. The Golden Week period is very, very crucial just simply to lift expectations. It's very likely that later in the year we get better data, but expectations are just on the abyss right now.
Your borrowing's very cheap in China right now, but are corporations taking on debt? What have your findings been around that? Are they even able to?
Yeah, one of the theses for the year has been that China needs to step up with a lot of stimulus. Well, if you look at the monetary policy or the monetary policy side of things, you see very clearly that there has been easing. The cost of credit has become cheaper throughout the course of the year. But because business confidence is lacking, companies are simply unwilling to borrow at levels that they did before the pandemic. And what you're finding repeatedly is that there's a limit to just how much Beijing can do to revive the economy by trying to push credit into the system.
And we continue to see this divergence when it comes to manufacturing, property, services as well. Are we going to see more recovery in those sectors anytime soon, or is the stimulus just not going to filter through to those areas?
Yeah, I think the manufacturing picture has held up a lot better through the course of the year when you look at a range of data than we've seen so far. That said, headwinds have been building and they're accelerating. Manufacturing will probably continue, will probably lose steam as we get through the end of the year. The hope really is that over the next 6 months or so, we finally see, if it's a slower improvement in consumption, that's fine, but we get that consumption improvement. We were hoping to find some kind of floor in the property market, but those hopes were dashed again. So that's the second thing we're on the lookout for now. Will property prices find a floor?